Ciao a tutti amici di Security Info, benvenuti a questo nuovo video. Oggi siamo qui con Ross McKerchar di Sophos, che ha un ruolo veramente interessante, che è quello di proteggere Sophos dagli attacchi informatici. Anche le aziende che lavorano nel settore della sicurezza hanno bisogno di proteggersi, anzi anche più delle altre perché sono bersagli sensibili. E oggi abbiamo qui Ross per parlarci di questo punto di vista. Parleremo ovviamente in inglese e poi metteremo dei sottotitoli per chi preferisce leggere invece che ascoltare. Hello Ross, welcome on Security Info.
Oh, thanks. Nice to be here.
So I did a quick introduction to our readers to your figure, and I'm really excited to talk about this topic because it's the first time I really take this on. So how is different to protect an usual company from a security company? What are the things that you mainly focus about?
Yeah, absolutely. Yes. So on the face of it, my job is very similar to a CISO at any other company, and certainly my responsibilities lie in the same area. I think the key difference is the amount of trust that customers place in their security vendors. So obviously I have to protect our corporate environment, like any other CISO, but really I'd say that my major focus are our product environments, both on our own product environments, so our services, our SaaS applications, but also the products that sit in customer environments like our firewalls. We recognize that customers are putting a huge amount of trust in us to keep those products and services secure, because a failure there is almost worse than us missing a threat. It's one thing to miss a threat. No vendor is perfect, and sometimes we don't catch all the threats that pass through our systems. But it's another thing entirely to actually be the threat. To be the source of a problem for a customer. So that's where the majority of my focus is.
Interesting. Of course, nobody's perfect, and sometimes you don't catch a threat, but some other times it happens that a security software crashes the world. But jokes apart, I was wondering, I have to ask you this. Are you using only Sophos software?
So the core of our technology is Sophos, of course. We have what we call a dog fooding program that we're very active in here at Sophos. But we don't solve every single problem in the world. We don't pretend to. So I have a selection of kind of point vendors that help me out there. We're particularly active in the startup ecosystem. So we really like working with early stage companies as design partners to shore up kind of specific technology niches that we need solved.
Do you ever get in touch with the customers of Sophos?
Personally, yeah, I do. I speak to some of our larger customers. I'm also quite active in the CISO community, so I kind of naturally overlap with customers there as well. I would say, my big focus is protecting Sophos, so I don't spend huge amounts of time, out in the field. I'm not trying to sell our products or anything. I want to make sure that I have plenty of time to focus on the core mission. But of course, that doesn't mean that I can't, spend a bit of time, working with customers. I really enjoy that aspect of it, actually.
I made this question to you because I was curious I expect that you are a really great expert at using Sophos software and tools. I was wondering if you see any difference on how the customer use your software and tools, and how you do that, and how they could improve that.
Sure. Yeah. Well, look, I mean, I'm not a massive expert in our products, but I obviously understand them very well. My team, on the other hand, they spend a lot of time in our products and are really kind of driving them hard. The way that I explain this internally is I like us to push the engineering teams and the product management teams further than our customers do. We're constantly trying to explore new use cases and new ways of getting additional value out of our technology. So to that aspect, yeah, we're probably heavier consumers of things like API integrations and maybe some of the kind of niche capabilities that others haven't explored. I'd say, for customers, the key area to focus on that we focus on when it comes to product deployment that maybe other customers don't always is the asset management side of the product. We often where we see customers who have had incidents, the root cause of that is a failure to deploy our agents consistently across their entire environment, and we shouldn't underestimate that. That's not an easy thing to do. In a fast-moving IT environment where endpoints are coming and going, it is a real challenge to ensure that you are that you are deploying everything. So I encourage kind of customers to really lean in on that aspect. Using kind of some of the functionality in our products like live query, as well as some of our health check capabilities. There are tools in the product to help you identify where there might be coverage gaps, and that's a big aspect of our program. I don't think any organization will ever get to 100% coverage, but I'd like to think that we're in the 99% plus coverage internally, and that's where customers should aim to get.
Okay. You said that after all, protecting Sophos is not very different from protecting any other company out there. But do you see any peculiarity in the threats that you have to face? I mean, I do understand that you basically get all the attacks that are widespread, maybe auto attacks or something like that. But I think that you get a lot of targeted attacks too. Do this kind of attacks have any peculiarity in respect of what we see usually in the normal companies?
Yeah, absolutely. So we see all the same kind of pray and spray commodity, spray and pray commodity attacks that many other companies see. We see the ransomware groups, everything basically. The difference is we are also seen as a way of attacking our customers, and that kind of works in two ways. So we know that threat actors like to download our products, understand our products to figure out how to bypass them. So we see that. So that's not an attack directly on us, but that's just attackers doing their research. And then the second part is we do see attacks both directly against us and directly against our products by threat actors, not just trying to bypass our products, but actually by trying to use our products as a way into customers. We know we're not unique in the industry. This is a common thread that all vendors have to deal with.
Yeah. Is there any moment where you all the attackers pass the first line, or and so any other technology had to block it after the perimeter, or do you always manage to keep them away?
I mean, look, we managed to deflect the vast majority of attacks, but I don't think any organization that is kind of paying attention it should expect to have incidents that pass their first layer of controls. That's why we have a lot of people as well. The tools, nearly all products, what they're really doing is buying you time. They'll deflect commodity attacks, but when you come under targeted attack, that they are giving you time to rally your internal defense. If you're being attacked by a hands-on keyboard attacker, a person, the only real defense against that is another person. So yeah, absolutely. We've had incidents where our kind of first layer of defenses have I wouldn't call it failed, because they're kind of doing their job. It's just that they alone haven't protected us, and we've disclosed some of many. Well, we haven't had many, but we've disclosed a good handful of those types of incidents over the years. We really believe that good defense is about being transparent. It's about showing that you can handle control failure and you have backup defense and depth, backup options. Just our Pacific Rim report out just a few days ago is an example of that. We disclosed an incident against an Indian-based subsidiary that we acquired through our Cyberm acquisition, and that was an that whole report started off with an internal breach.
I'm gonna be back to Pacific Rim in a short while, but since obviously you got since Sophos is selling a managed service for security, including a 24-hour SOC to respond to the attacks for the company that's buying this service. Is that SOC the same that you are using internally, or are different people?
Yeah. So we have both, in fact. So we call it our MDR service. So we use our MDR service in the same way that customers use our MDR service. The nature of that service tends to mean that they focus on protecting our corporate estate. So our Windows domains, our corporate endpoints, and they act as a great layer of defense for us. And what they do is they give my internal operations team the bandwidth back to focus on other threats. And specifically, I said earlier on that we really focus heavily on threats against our product. The response for that tends to be much more bespoke. You need to be real experts in our SaaS infrastructure, so kind of bespoke Linux-based, cloud-based infrastructure, as well as the internals of our products that are running in the field. So that's really where my team come in, and they have unique expertise in that area. So the way I see it, that both the internal and the they're not external, they're also internal to us, but they kind of treat us, we're treated like we would be like a third-party customer. I see the two teams, as very complementary in what they do, and of course they work very closely together as well.
You just talked about Pacific Rim. That is an interesting report about how to retaliate or hamper the attacks coming specifically from China. Is it correct?
Yeah, so the majority of the activity that we observed originated from within China.
What are the most interesting topic in this report? Is there any peculiarity on the TTPs or something?
Yeah, I think what we managed to disclose is a glimpse inside this exploit development ecosystem that's centered around in the Sichuan region, in Chengdu particularly. That to me is the most interesting piece. There's been a lot of discussion about China's vulnerability disclosure legislation that requires researchers in that country to share vulnerabilities with the PRC. That is.
Sorry if I interrupt you. It
Sure.
was. If I'm not wrong, right after this law was enforced in China, the number of vulnerabilities coming from Chinese researchers dropped dramatically. Is it that correct?
Yeah,
I don't think it was because they lost interest into watching for vulnerabilities.
No. So even before that legislation came into effect, I think it was in 2021. The participation of Chinese researchers in these global vulnerability contests where a bunch of researchers gather in a region and there's prizes, that had already dropped off massively, and that was a big source of a big driver for some of the kind of cutting edge exploit research and vulnerability research the industry was doing. So yeah, absolutely, we've seen a real dwindling, and there is no doubt that community has grown internally. So it's not a case of it withering out at all. It's just that we're not seeing it anymore, which is why us getting a glimpse into that ecosystem, as we disclose in the Pacific Rim report, was so fascinating.
Okay. I saw that in the report you are very precise on the technical part for detecting the attacks, but maybe I still didn't find the right page, but I didn't really see a part dedicated to the scope of the attacks. Do you know what was the main reason for attacking from China? In the past, it was IP theft, for example. What is happening now?
Yeah, absolutely. So I think we our assessment is that there are quite a few objectives that the attackers are trying to achieve. So early on in the report, they we talk about these kind of more indiscriminate attacks where they're going after kind of large numbers of systems. So we believe that they were trying to build up a botnet, or more specifically, we're calling them an orb. So that's an operational relay boxes. These are really useful tools for more sophisticated attackers to use because they allow them they're a bit like a Tor network, but it's
Sure.
like a Tor network that's kind of under your control almost. You can bounce your traffic via these compromised devices, and that allows you to obfuscate the true origin of your attacks, but it also allows you to blend in because you're actually coming from, it looks like the attacks are coming from another legitimate company in the same country as you. So that's going to be, reputable IP space and harder to detect, basically. So that was one of the key. So it's a kind of capability building exercise, which highlights the the industrial nature of the activity that we uncovered. We saw separate groups that would be doing the fundamental vulnerability research, separate from the groups that are creating the exploits, separate from the groups that are using them on frontline operations, and even there, we assess that there are different groups that are doing kind of capability development, so building up these orbs for other actors to use, versus groups that were specifically going after targets, which is another behavior that we saw in the report, particularly kind of towards the end of the tracked period, where the objectives were primarily what I'd call kind of CNE, computer network exploitation. Most of the targets that we saw were more espionage, like kind of rich value espionage targets. So for example, we saw a government entity impacted around the time that they were doing a debt renegotiation with PRC officials. You probably know, China has got a lot of investment in a lot of countries around the world through their Belt and Road Initiative.
Sure.
And some of those, some of the investments have gone sour and they've had to renegotiate the debt. So, we see I guess that's a very classic espionage scenario where you want to gain an edge in your renegotiation. If you can figure out how to access the other party's communications, you're going to be in a much stronger place to negotiate. We also saw potential critical infrastructure targets. So that's where the end objective is less about information gathering and espionage and more about pre-positioning such that you could perform disruptive activities if and when you needed to. So we're not saying that we saw the disruptive activities, but when you think about targets like some of the kind of critical infrastructure supply chain or healthcare, these aren't places that are going to necessarily have intellectual property, or a water services company or something. They're unlikely to have high value intellectual property, but they are places where you could potentially perform very disruptive activities. I think that's a very important concern for us. We have a large mid-market base, and that mid-market would not typically be I mean, there's some very big exceptions to this, but they would not typically be espionage targets all the time. Some of them might be, but not always. But if you're a healthcare provider or even things like, waste collection or other council services, you very much are critical infrastructure, and you may become a target from some quite sophisticated actors because of that capability that you're providing for your country.
So Ross, thank you very much for your time. It's been a very interesting interview. I hope to meet you again in the future.
Thank you very much.